जय राधा माधवा कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधवा कुंज बिहारी जय गोपी जनवल्लभा गिरिवरधारी जय गोपी जनवल्लभा गिरिवरधारी यशोदनंदन ब्रज जनरंजन यशोदनंदन ब्रज जनरंजन यमुनतीरावनचारी यमुनतीरावनचारी जय राधा माधवा कुंज बिहारी हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 रामा राम राम हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे जय विष्णु पाद परम सप्रिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर श्रीमती दिव्यंगेश्वर ऐसी भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी श्रील प्रभुपाद की नित्य लीला प्रविष्ट जय विष्णु पाद परम सप्रिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर श्रीमती दिव्यंगेश्वर भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोस्वामी श्रील प्रभुपाद की अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की नामाचार्य श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद की गंगा माई की यमुना माई की तुलसी देवी की भक्ति देवी की समवेत भक्त वृंद की all glories to assembled devotees, all glories to assembled devotees, all glories to assembled devotees, all glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Narayanam namaskritya naran chaiva narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudhiraye. Before reciting this Srimad Bhagavatam, which is very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto Personality of Godhead Narayana, unto Naranarayan Rishi, the supremost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadev, the other, and Srila Prabhupada, our spiritual master. Nasta prayeshu bhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavatyuttama sloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naisthiki. By regular attendance in classes on Srimad Bhagavatam and by rendering of service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto Personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. On this day of 5th November in San Diego, California, USA, we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 9, Liberation, Chapter 4, Ambarīṣa Mahārāja offended by Durvasa Muni, texts 23 and 24. So I'll go through verse 23 and then 24 we can repeat. Text 23. Yasya kratushu girvane sadasya ritvijo janaha tulya rupas cha nimisha vyadrishyanta suvasasaha. In the sacrifice arranged by Mahārāja Ambarīṣa, the members of the assembly and the priests, especially Hota, Udgata, Brahma and Adhvaryu, were gorgeously dressed, and they all looked exactly like demigods. They eagerly saw to the proper performance of the yajna. Text 24. You can repeat after me, but before that we'll go. Swargaha na prardhitaha yasya. Do the meanings also. Oh, okay, yeah. Swargo na prardhito yasya manujair amarapriyaha shrunvadbhir upagayadbhir uttamasloka chestitam. Swargo na prardhito yasya manujair amarapriyaha shrunvadbhir upagayadbhir uttamasloka chestitam. Swargo na prardhito yasya manujair amarapriyaha shrunvadbhir upagayadbhir uttamasloka chestitam. Swargo na prardhito yasya manujair amarapriyaha shrunvadbhir upagayadbhir uttamasloka chestitam. Swargo na prardhito yasya manujair amarapriyaha shrunvadbhir upagayadbhir uttamasloka chestitam. Swargo na prardhito yasya manujair amarapriyaha shrunvadbhir upagayadbhir uttamasloka chestitam. Swargo na prardhito yasya manujair amarapriyaha shrunvadbhir upagayadbhir uttamasloka chestitam. Swargo na pratito yasya Manujay Ramara Priyaha Shunvadbhirupagayadbhir Uttama chestitam Swargo na prarthito yasya Manujay Ramara Priyaha Shunvadbhirupagayadbhir Uttama chestitam. You want to try? Yeah. Swargo na prardhito yasya Manujay Ramara Priyaha Shunvadbhirupagayadbhir Uttama chestitam. Swargo na prardhito yasya Manujay Ramara Priyaha Shunvadbhirupagayadbhir Uttama chestitam. Yes. Swargo na prardhito yasya Manujay Ramara Priyaha Shunvadbhirupagayadbhir Uttama chestitam. Swargo na prardhito yasya Manujay Ramara Priyaha Shunvadbhirupagayadbhir Uttama chestitam. Anyone online? Swargaha, life in the heavenly planets. Na, not. Prardhitaha, a subject for aspiration. Yasya, of whom? Ambarish Maharaj. Manujai, by the citizens. Amara Priyaha, very dear even to the demigods. Shunvadbhihi, who were accustomed to hear. Upagayadbhihi, and accustomed to chant. Uttama sloka, of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Chestitam, about the glorious activities. Translation. The citizens of the state of Mahārāja Ambarīṣa were accustomed to chanting and hearing about the glorious activities of the Personality of Godhead. Thus, they never aspired to be elevated to the heavenly planets, which are extremely dear even to the demigods. So, purport by His Divine Grace Bhakti Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. A pure devotee who has been trained in the practice of chanting and hearing the holy name of the Lord and his fame, qualities, form, paraphernalia and so on is never interested in elevation to the heavenly planets, even though such places are extremely dear even to the demigods. Narayana para sarve nakutascha nabibhyati swargapavarga narakeshu apitulyartha darshinaha. Devotees solely engaged in the devotional service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayana, never fear any condition of life. The heavenly planets, liberation, and the hellish planets are all same to a devotee. Srimad Bhagavatam 6.17.28. A devotee is always situated in the spiritual world. Therefore, he does not desire anything. He is known as akama or desireless because he has nothing to desire except to render transcendental loving service to Supreme Personality of Godhead. Because Mahārāja Ambarīṣa was a most exalted devotee of the Lord, he trained his subjects in such a way that the citizens in his state were not interested in anything material, including even the happiness of the heavenly planets. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Gnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yutapadakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Sri Visakan Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandho Jagatpate Gopesa Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrundavaneswari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Pre Vancha Kalpatarubhyasya Kripa Sindhubhya Vacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So we are going through the pastimes of Ambarīṣa Mahārāja, one of the Mahābhagavata devotee. In the 12th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, in the one of the last chapters, the glories of Srimad Bhagavatam, there is a verse which says about the glories of Srimad Bhagavatam. Srimad Bhagavatam Puranam Amalam Yad Vaishnavanam Priyam Yasmin Paramahamsyam Ekam Amalam Gnanam Param Giyate Tatra Gnana Viraga Bhakti Sahitam Naishkarmyam Avishkritam Tatshrunvan Supathan Vicharana Paro Bhaktya Vimuche Naraha. So Srimad Bhagavatam Puranam Amalam Yad Vaishnavanam Priyam. So Srimad Bhagavatam is a spotless Purana. Amala means contaminated. Amalam means pure, spotless Purana. It is most dear to Vaishnavas because it describes the pure and supreme knowledge of the Paramahamsas. This Bhagavatam reveals the means for becoming free from all material work together with the process of transcendental knowledge, renunciation and devotion. Tatra Gnana Viraga Bhakti Sahitam and Naishkarmyam Avishkrutam. So this reveals the means for becoming free from all material work. So anyone who seriously tries to understand Srimad Bhagavatam, who properly hears and chants it with devotion, becomes completely liberated. Sukadeva Goswami says about the glories of Srimad Bhagavatam. So here, so Srimad Bhagavatam gives us one of the foremost scripture, gives us about the Uttama Sloka Gunanuvarnane. So it speaks, or like it gives the pastimes of the Uttama Sloka devotees. So Uttama Sloka is as given in this verse also. So it means two things. One is the choicest transcendental songs given us by Uttama Sloka devotees who are spotless Vaishnavas. So Srimad Bhagavatam, as said in this verse, Yasmin Paramahamsyam Ekam Amalam Gnanam Param Giyate. So they take to this nectar Param Gnanam Giyate. Srimad Bhagavatam sings the Param Gnanam, like supreme knowledge. So the word Paramahamsa is attributed to these spotless Vaishnavas. So Paramahamsa actually means these royal swans. So the characteristic property of the royal swan or the swan is, it is said that if you give a bowl of milk and water mixed to this swan, it drinks only milk and leaves water. So that means these Paramahamsas or the pure devotees of the Lord are also traversing like whatever we are going through this contaminated material world, which usually like sadhakas like us might fall into the trap of Maya and get more and more entangled. But Paramahamsas take to the instructions given in the scriptures, and also their activities, their pastimes also gives us what the teachings of this Srimad Bhagavatam and the scriptures like Bhagavad Gita speaks. So one of such Paramahamsa or the Mahabhagavata devotee is Ambarīṣa Mahārāja. So actually in the beginning of the section of Ambarīṣa Mahārāja's thing, so Sukadeva Goswami actually says this verse, Sishruko Vacha Ambarīṣo Mahabhagaha Sapta Dvipatim Mahim Avyayam cha sriyam labdva vibhavam chatulam bhuvi. So he says he is Mahabhagavata devotee. And these glories are being glorified by Sukadeva Goswami. So one thing we see is Sukadeva Goswami and Ambarīṣa Maharaj. The description of this verse about introduction of Ambarīṣa Maharaj is he is the ruler, the king of the earth, which is consisting of 7 continents or 7 islands. And so basically he's a king. So he has his subjects and so on. So but Sukadeva Goswami is a avadhut, you can say. So he is a very liberated soul. So Sukadeva Goswami glorifying Ambarīṣa Maharaj. If you take just material comparison itself, Sukadeva Goswami and Ambarīṣa Maharaj are diametrically opposite in terms of material attributes that they are there. Ambarīṣa Maharaj is a king. He has so many followers, armies, kingdoms and so on. But Sukadeva Goswami is a very Vaishnava who doesn't even have a piece of cloth on his body. He's that detached soul. But Sukadeva Goswami is glorifying Ambarīṣa Maharaj because these sect of pure devotees who also does kingdoms like ruling kingdoms or doing their administrative duties but are completely devoted to the Lord comes in the categories of Rajarshis. So like how Rishis are someone, Rish, it comes from the root word Risha, Darsha, these all. That means who has the transcendental vision. That means who has seen what we can't see. That means who took to the Shastra Chakshu and they were actually seeing what the scriptures are giving us. So Ambarīṣa Maharaj is such a Rajarshi. In that subsequent verse, Sukadeva Goswami says, Mene atidurlabham pumsan sarvam tat swapna samstutam vidwan vibhava nirvanam tamo vishati yat puman. These are like few verses before this verse. That is, Sukadeva Goswami says, Ambarīṣa Maharaj, the most fortunate personality, achieved the rule of the entire world consisting of 7 islands and achieved inexhaustible, unlimited opulence and prosperity on earth. Although such a position is rarely obtained, Maharaj Ambarīṣa did not care for it at all. For he knew very well that all such opulence is material. Like that which is imagined in a dream, swapna samstutam, such opulence will ultimately be destroyed. The king knew that any non-devotee who attains such opulence merges increasingly into material nature's mode of darkness. So this is what differentiates Ambarīṣa Maharaj from the rest of the people. So Ambarīṣa Maharaj knows being pure devotee of the Lord, all the opulences, all the material attributes that he has, he knows it's swapna samstutam. It's like a dream. So actually in Bhajagovindam, Shankara writes, Makuru dhanajana yavvana garvam harati nimeshat kalat sarvam, he writes. And Bhajagovindam, Bhajagovindam, Govindam Bhajamudamati. Worship, full worship Lord Hari. Like that Shankara says. That is, if we are proud of dhana, jana and yavvana garvam, of like wealth or these opulences that we are blessed with, if we are proud of it, harati nimeshat kalat sarvam, these are all will be taken away in 1 minute of time. That is death. Like so the material account is like a bankrupted bank, you can think. Like you can keep depositing all your opulences into that material bank, but at the time of death, it becomes zero. But the spiritual thing is an eternal bank where whatever the devotional services that you do will be coming with you through lifetimes after lifetimes. So Mahārāja Ambarīṣa is someone who looked at Shreyas, that is the long-term goal, by not falling into the pride or taking into it, but exhibiting these wonderful qualities. That's why Sukadeva Goswami is glorifying him. And so also as Bhagavatam says, Gurur na sasyat, Svajano na sasyat, Pita na sasyat, Janani na sasyat, Daivam na tatsyan na patis cha sasyan, na mochayad ya samupeta mrutyum. So one who cannot deliver his dependents from the path of repeated birth and death should never become a spiritual master, a father, a husband, a mother, or a worshipable demigod. Rishabdeva's verse. So the reason why I am saying this is, we can see from these 2 verses, whatever we have studied, like how Ambarīṣa Maharaj is ruling the kingdom. So it is said in this verse also how the citizens of the state are engaged in the glorious activities, hearing and chanting about the glorious activities. When in Mahabharata, when Bhishma Dev is giving up his pastimes on the earth, so the last phase, Krishna brings Yudhishthira and the Pandavas near to the Bhishma Dev to learn from him, like how to rule kingdoms, and also the transcendental subject matter also, who is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So that's why Bhishma Dev also gives Bhishma Stuti and also Vishnu Sahasranam and all those. So before that, when he is speaking to Yudhishthira, there is a verse which is inspired by what is his name? Chanakya also, where Prabhupada quotes some of his things on all that. So he says, Ragni dharmini dharmishta pape paparatha sada rajanam anuvartante yatha raja tada praja. That is, if Ragni dharmini dharmishta, if Raja, the king or the ruler, is someone who is following the rules of dharma properly and also following the activities, like as it said here, then the people also follow that. Ragni dharmini dharmishta. Pape paparata sada. But if the ruler is a sinful fellow who is completely, running after these things which are temporary, so and committing sinful activities, even the kingdom also reflects the same. So Rajanam anuvartante. So the people will follow whatever the ruler does. Yadha Raja tada praja. So how the king is, so are the ruled the people of his subjects, the citizens. So by glorifying the citizens of the Mahārāja Ambarīṣa Maharaj's kingdom, so Shukadeva Goswami is indirectly also giving that how great devotee that Mahārāja Ambarīṣa is. And also there are some points here, like even in the previous verse also, one of the famous sect of verses where Srila Prabhupada quotes it repeatedly, that is Savai Manah Krishna Padaravindayor, like how Mahārāja Ambarīṣa engages his mind and so on. Even in the Mukunda Mala Stotram, there is a verse, Chetas Chintaya Kirtaya Swarasane Namri Bhavatvam Siro Hasta Vanjali Samputam Rachayatam Vandasva Dirgham Vapu Atman Samsraya Pundarika Nayanam Nagachalendra Sthitam Dhanyam Punyatamam Tadeva Paramam Daivam Hi Satsiddhaye. So Kulasekara Alvar is also a king of Malayanadu. It is now Kerala in India, Malayanadu. So Kulasekara Alvar writes this, Chetas Chintaya, use your intelligence to meditate on Lord Hari. Kirtaya Swarasane, use your tongue to sing and chant the glories of the Lord. Namri Bhavatvam Siro, use your head to bow before the Lord. Hasta Anjali Samputam Rachayatam, Anjali Samputam, offer obeisances before Lord. And Rachayatam, use it to write the transcendental glories of the Lord. And Vandasva Dirgham Vapuhu, use your body to offer prostrated obeisances. Dandavat Pranam. Atman, your entire existence, Samsraya Pundarika Nayanam, dedicate or meditate on the lotus eyes of that Lord, Nagachalendra Sthitam, that Lord who is sleeping on the mountain like snake, Dhanyam Punyatamam, like that perfect your own life, Tadeva Paramam Hi Daivam Satsiddhaye. He is surely the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is the God of gods, Paramam Daivam, like that he says. So which is in sync with whatever even Ambarīṣa Maharaj like he is glorified, like how he is always engaging all his faculties, intelligence and senses in the service of Krishna. So so here another point I want to tell. Yeah. So here another theme that is being discussed is one who is accustomed to chanting and hearing about the glorious activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, they never aspire to be elevated to the heavenly planets, which are extremely dear even to the demigods. That is, the devotees, when they study Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita carefully, they realize that so even through whatever their sadhana or whatever it is, if it is taking to the heavenly planets, not only heavenly planets, like engaging in pious activities, which actually binds us to law of karma only. That is, if we keep doing some pious activity, it will reward us with some material opulences. But if it is not, being used under the service of the Lord, then again will be given like a noble birth or something. And again, like you have to keep repeatedly taking this cycle of birth and death. Again, if you do negative things like sinful activities, then you are punished. So even pious activities or aspiring to be part of these heavenly planets like demigods will subject to this cycle of karma. And so devotees do not want to be bound to this cycle of karma. That's why in Mukundamala Sutram, even Kulsekar Alvar prays like that. Naham vande tava charanayor dvandva madvandva hetu. Krishna, I am not praying onto your lotus feet to escape from the dualities of the material life. Sita, Ushna, Sukha, Dukkha, Labha, Labha, Jaya, Jaya, these are all dualities of material life. That is cold and heat, that is the material bodily comforts, and victory and loss, and profit or loss, like that, like materially. So all these dualities of material life, I am not praying to you to escape from the dualities of material life. This is a prayer by a pure devotee, Kulsekar Alvar. And Naham vande tava charanayor dvandva madvandva hetu kumbhi pakam gurumapi harer narakam napanetum. So there are 64 planets of hellish planets where you are awarded with a variety of punishments if you are engaging in these sinful activities. So kumbhi pakam is one of the punishments, like where you are fried in the oil, like that. So like that, kumbhi pakam and gurumapi harer means greater than those punishments. I am not praying to you to escape from these kind of hells. Then what? Ramya Rama Mrudutanu Lata Nandanena Pirantum. He is a king. He has opulences that everyone is aspiring for, like material people. And he is saying that I am not praying to you to enjoy with these beautiful ladies. Ramya Rama Mrudutanu Lata Nandanena Pirantum. Then what is that prayer that Kulsekar Alvar is giving is Bhave Bhave, life after life, life after life, Hrudaya Bhavane, in the building of my heart. Bhavayeyam Bhavantam, let me meditate on you, Krishna. That's what Kulsekar Alvar is saying. So pure devotees of the Lord do not fall into the trap of these material opulences. So I will one of the now that glories of Ambarīṣa Mahārāja is being discussed in Srimad Bhagavatam. In the subsequent classes we see how when Ambarīṣa Mahārāja, if he is being tested by some challenging condition, how he reacted as a devotee of the Lord, and that will be glorified. So before going to those pastimes, I will briefly say there are, so these pure devotees, Paramahamsas, Uttama Sloka devotees, are Jivan Mukta. Jivan Mukta means they are liberated while living. So there is a technical concept here. Radhika Raman Prabhu discusses this. That is, so actually Jivan Mukta is the word that even Sankara uses in his writings. That is Satsangatve Nissangatvam, Nissangatve Nirmohatvam, Nirmohatve Nischalatatvam, Nischalatatve Jivan Mukti. Like that. That is, when you have good association, then you will be freed from your bad association. And without bad association, you are freed from Nirmohaha. That means falling into bewilderment. And when that bewilderment falling is gone, then Nischalatatvam, you will be steady in your sadhana. And Nischalatatve Jivan Mukti. By having that steady devotional service, you will be liberated. So, if you see the writings of Sri Ramanujacharya, Ramanujacharya only writes about Videha Mukti, a concept. That is, you get liberated, you keep doing these devotional activities, but after you leave your body, then is where you get like the liberation, like that. But Rupa Goswami actually accepts Sankara's discussion on how a devotee, a pure devotee can be Jivan Mukta. That is, he can be liberated while living itself. That means they, like how we saw from exalted devotees like Srila Prabhupada, that they can exhibit the activities like any other human being that are there, but still they are liberated because they are situated in the spiritual world and the pastimes of the Lord. So for that, situating, the discussion in Srimad Bhagavad Gita is given, where Arjuna actually asks in the second chapter to Krishna. So what he asks is, so before that, 53rd verse says about when your mind is no longer disturbed, nischala, by the flowery words of Vedas, and your intelligence is fixed in the trance of self-realization, then you will attain divine consciousness, the status of Jivan Mukta. So that is the 53rd one. So 54 to 72 is the description of Sthita Prajna, the qualities of that Jivan Mukta devotee. So Arjuna asks, he will ask like, Sthita Prajnasya ka bhasha, kim prabhaseta, kim asita, kim vrajeta, like that he asks questions. Vrajeta kim, like that. So kim bhasha means what are his general symptoms of these Uttama Sloka or the Jivan Mukta devotee, that is Sthita Prajna. Kim prabhaseta, how does he speak? On receiving praise or blame, affection or hate, what will he say externally or internally? Kim asita, how does he sit? That means how is he situated? How does he restrain his senses from the sense objects? That is the one. And kim vrajeta, how does he walk? That is, how does he respond to the sense objects? These are the verses Krishna replies in a set of verses. So, we'll see what are the symptoms of a Sthita Prajna. We can see this and appreciate the qualities of Ambarīṣa Mahārāja in the subsequent classes. So, Prajahati yada kaman sarvan pardhamanogatan atmanyevatmanatushtaha Sthita Prajnastadochyate. Then Krishna replies this. One who gives up all kinds of material desires. Sarvam pardhamanogatan, that arise from the mind, O Pardha, and is satisfied in the self as a servant of the Supreme, is said to be a Sthita Prajna, that is situated in pure consciousness. So, with the mind withdrawn from the sense objects, he is satisfied by the soul whose very nature is bliss, that is Atmana Tushtaha, like that. Then he says, Krishna, Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna continues, Sthita Prajna's response to the dualities, that is, this is the response to Kim Bhasha. Like how does he speak? Like what are his symptoms, like that? He says, Dukkeshu anudvignamanaha, Sukeshu vigata spruhaha, Vitaraga bayakroda stitadir muniruchate. He is undisturbed in mind amidst threefold miseries. He is not elated where there is happiness. He is free from attachment, fear and anger. Such a person is called a sage of a steady mind. And Yah sarvatrānabhisnehas tat prapya subhasubham nabhinandanti nadvesti tasya prajna pratisthitaha, like that he says how he is situated in that perfect knowledge. So he is unaffected everywhere in this world by whatever good or evil he may obtain, neither praising it nor despising it. Such a person is firmly fixed in perfect knowledge. And response to Arjuna's asking, how does he sit? So like that is what is the Sthita Prajna's sense control. So what Krishna gives is, Yada samharate chayam kurmongani vasarvasaha indriyanindriyartebhyas tasya prajna pratisthitaha. One who is able to withdraw just as the tortoise draws its limbs within the shell, his senses from the sense objects, is firmly fixed in perfect consciousness. That is Tasya Prajna Pratisthita. That is, who is able to withdraw his senses from the sense objects just as the tortoise draws its limbs within the shell. So that is how this Sthita Prajna will be perfectly formed in fixed consciousness. Then how is he able to continue that state? He is by experiencing the higher taste. That is where Krishna gives in 59th text. That is Vishaya vinivartante niraharasya dehinaha rasavarjam rasopyasya param drishtva nivartate. Though the embodied soul may practice to restrict his senses from enjoying the sense objects, the taste for the sense objects or the desire for the enjoyment remains. But one can cease from it by experiencing a higher taste. This difference we will see between the Durvasa Muni and Ambarīṣa Mahārāja. Durvasa Muni is also very austere, tapasvi, you can say, who does extreme austerities. But Ambarīṣa Mahārāja is a devotee, so who has experienced that higher taste. That contrast between their activities we can see in the subsequent ones. And going in that thing, there are last two texts I'll read. In the 60th one, he says, even the wise are distracted by senses. So he's saying, what is the rarity of his Sthita Prajna? That is, yatato hyapi kaunteya purushasya vipaschitaha indriyani pramadhini haranti prashabham manaha. O Arjuna, although endeavoring to control the senses, even for a man of full discrimination, the senses are so strong and impetuous that they forcibly carry away his mind. Then how, then what Sthita Prajna does in that? Sense control is possible, only devotion to Lord Krishna. Tani sarvani samyamya yukta asita matparaha vasehi yasyendriyani tasya prajna pratishtitaha. One who restrains his senses and fixes his consciousness upon me, keeping the senses under full control, is known as a man of steady intelligence. So this is the theme where Krishna gives about how Sthita Prajna is fixed in this steady intelligence. So then Krishna goes on continuing in this chapter, giving about what will happen, what is the stages of fall down if you do not control your senses by devotion to Lord Krishna, as he said. And if you do not restrain the senses, that is dhyayato vishayan pumsaha, contemplation, and then subsequent stages, he says, and so on. So in conclusion, one last verse I will conclude. This is from Mukundamala Sutra only. So by seeing, by hearing to the teachings of this Mahajana or Mahabhagavata devotees, why it is important is, in Mukundamala Sutra he says, Yat Krishna pranipata dhuli dhavala tadvarshma tadvai siras te netre tamasojjite suruchire yabhyam haridrishyate. He says, what is the result of engaging in this devotional service? How? He says, oh, let my head be covered or smeared by dust by continuously offering obeisances unto the Lord. And te netre, those eyes. So the way that construction of that verse is, that head is white, smeared from the dust which is rolling because of offering obeisances unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna. And te netre, those eyes which are taking darshan of the Lord, are tamasojjite suruchire, they are freed from the darkness or ignorance. And sa buddhi vimalendu sankadavala yamadhavadhyayini, that intelligence is like a conch shell, pure and white, like that is compared, which meditates on the pastimes of the Lord. Sa jihvamrutam varshinim pratipadam yastauti narayanam. So that tongue which always chants and speaks about the glories of Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Narayana, always amruta varshini. So whatever they speak, those pure devotees, it is always beneficial for our spiritual progress and to us like that. So with that I conclude my class. Thank you so much for giving me opportunity to speak few words. Any comments or questions?
Hare Krishna. I don't know if this was covered before and I just missed it, but I'm curious as to what brings about a righteous king, a king that is a devotee. How does that come about? Or is there any text that speak about how, I guess, that kind of merit is in a culture or society that comes about and it's able to prosper.
How will be king and all.
Yeah.
So there are some dharma shastras which gives about like what should be the qualities of the king. But we see from scriptures like Srimad Bhagavatam that there are kings who might follow these dharma shastras properly, but they are flawed whenever the test of time happens in terms of like testing their sense control or so. These just following these rules will not help you. So that is why this Sthita Prajna thing we discussed. By observing Prahlad Maharaj, Ambarīṣa Maharaj and all the kings, the Rajarshis that are discussed in the scriptures, we learn more about their qualities. Like through the Bhagavatam it will be discussed. Like we can see Ambarīṣa Maharaj or We can see Janaka Mahārāja also discussed in Rama, and how all the rishis actually come and have a discussion with Janaka Mahārāja like that. So by Srimad Bhagavatam we can see from these qualities what we can see.
Thank you for a nice class, Prabhu. Can you summarize in your own understanding what is the position of Siddha Pragya and how can we aspire to get that position?
So Mahajanas are a very good example for us in understanding the qualities of Sthita Prajna. So all these verses that I have said is about, one is the most important thing that I feel like that I take it from the discussion is, withdrawing senses, being attentive to the like Jhayato Vishan Pumsa, about like contemplating on sense objects. Sometimes we are all not very strong in terms of relying on this strong sense control. We can see from even Durvasa Muni like that, losing his anger because of some offense that is committed, or committing aparadh to a Vaishnava and then chased after 3 worlds. We will see that. And he'll go to Shiva, he'll go to Brahma, no one can. So rather than relying solely on the self-control, one of the main attribute that I learn and also observe from the teachings of Srimad Bhagavatam is experiencing in higher taste. Like how can we dovetail all our interests, passions, talents are under the devotional service is what one of the most powerful teaching that we can get, where our intelligence could be fixed. Like individually, trying to restrain our senses, we are not that strong as to do that. And so many examples also show how, if you are just relying on the sense control, we can be like within one misstep, we are completely lost or so. That's why situating in the Vishaya Vinivartante Niraharasya Dehinaha, like then rather than forcefully controlling it, engaging all our talents and serving Vaishnavas also. That's one important thing that we have to do. With that, we can aspire to, acquire the Sthita Prajna's qualities, steady intelligence and so on. Yeah. Yes, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. I was wondering, you were mentioning at one point in your class how at the time of leaving your body you don't take anything material, but sometimes I guess you could say that you do leave your body, you do take maybe like your mind travels you to your next body. Is that?
Will mind travel to next body?
Or like your consciousness will also.
So, subtle body, yeah. So, I mean to say in terms of opulences and so on. So the thing is, there is one Bhagavatam class, I heard this from Radhesham Prabhu, that so we will see some of the times like we attract to some opulences, but by naturally we do not attract to some other opulences. It's because that purification has happened and that impression will be on the soul in terms of like a memory or so. Like for example, some people never run after wealth. They might not be devotees, they might be materialistic people, but they run to other vices but not money or something. That means they have ran after it, took punishments from Maya Devi, and then realized that okay, this is not the shelter where it gives me happiness and so on. So running after material things means like chasing after, like thinking that whatever the material shelter that I take will protect me. So that always leads to fear. So that is one point. Actually, I was hearing my spiritual master Radhanath Maharaj speaking on Ambarīṣa Maharaj's glories. He says that many people who are not the devotees like Ambarīṣa Maharaj, though they have these opulences, are always in the fear because their shelter is onto those opulences. But Ambarīṣa Maharaj is not taking shelter of whatever the opulence that he have, but he's taking the shelter of Supreme Personality of Godhead. That's why he's like, that's why that verse I discussed, though it was discussed in previous classes. It is like a dream. They do not, like if it is given, they see that it is being utilized properly in the Lord's service. That's the attitude of a devotee towards whatever the opulences they have. They don't run after chasing more and more material things, because it won't last. Yeah. Yes, Prabhu, please. Yeah.
Some text from the latter part of the second canto describing Ambarīṣa.
Yeah.
One of them was Yak Sarvatra Anabhisnehas.
Abhisnaya.
Tattvaprabhashabhashabha. And the translation in the material world, one who was unaffected, right? One who was unaffected by whatever good or evil he may obtain, whether praising it or despising it, is firmly fixed in perfect knowledge. The word sneha means affection.
Yes.
Right? But another meaning of affection, it actually is there, and we don't usually use it, is the quality of being affected by something.
Okay.
You see? If I have, if I go into a very cold place, but I'm not affected, then we can say that cold place has no affection on me, or I have no affection by that. It's an unusual usage, but it's probably used sometimes. So in this translation, the first thing is has no affection. That's one of the qualities. He has no material affection for things of here. You see, and in addition, he's not affected by whatever good or evil he may obtain. So that was kind of conflated in the translation. So when you read it in the Sanskrit, that's an important part of the quality.
Thanks, Prabhu, for sharing that. Yeah. Balram, bro.
Just wondered if you could repeat the last shloka you mentioned. I think it's from Mukundamala Stotra. I just missed a few things there.
Yeah, yat Krishna pranipata dhuli dhavala tadvarshma tadvai siras te netre tamasojjite suruchire yabhyam haridrishyate sa buddhi vimalendu senka dhavala ya madhavadhyayini sajjihvamrutam varshinim pratipadam yastauti narayanam. So that's the verse. Yat Krishna pranipata dhuli dhavala means that head is the loftiest, which is smeared by dust by taking repeated obeisances onto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And the second one is that eyes, which always take darshan of the Lord, is freed from the ignorance or the darkness of the ignorance, like that it goes. And sa buddhi vimalendu senka dhavala yamadhavadhyayini. That intelligence is pure and is compared to a pure white conch shell. Senka dhavala, dhavala is the white color, which always meditates on Madhavadhyayini, on the Madhava. And sa jihvamrutam varshinim pratipadam yastauti narayanam, which always does the prayers to and speaks about the glories and chants the Lord's names. That tongue will always shower nectar, like that amruta varshini, like that it says. That means whatever that pure devotee speaks will be very beneficial and will be pleasing also to us, like that.
Do you think you could tell the devotees a little bit about Mukunda, about King Kulshekar?
Yeah. So King Kulshekar is actually in Sri Vaishnava Sampradaya. So there are these Alvars and the pure devotees who are actually the paraphernalia of Lord. So Annamacharya is actually the Nandaka sword of Vishnu. Like that, there is a like incarnation which exhibit, like they teach about the devotional service by exhibiting wonderful pastimes. So King Kulasekara is the Kaustuba jewel of Vishnu. So the Kaustuba jewel of necklace of Vishnu is actually King Kulasekara. So if you go to Tirupati or the Sanctum Sanctorium of the Lord, and South Indian temples, the first the entrance, that step, whatever they say, so that is actually Kulasekara. So King Kulasekara actually prays to the Lord Narayana that I want to be at your footstep and want to take darshan of you, like that. So King Kulasekara is actually king. I'll just speak like 2 minutes, just like 2-3 instances I will tell very fast. So Kulasekara is such an exalted Vaishnava. So he wrote the Mukundamala Stotram. That is, each verse is like a pearl in the necklace that is his garlanding Krishna. Mukundamala Stotram, like that. So he is so absorbed, and as Mahārāja Ambarīṣa story we saw, that is in his kingdom always the glories of Ramayana goes on. So when Pandits are actually speaking about Ramayana, where Sita is abducted, immediately he used to discharge army towards that southern side and ask them to bring Sita. Like that it happens repeatedly. So like because he is in that absorption of the Lord. So the Pandits who are actually narrating the stories have to cut and finish the later part of Ramayana very fast so that he will be pacified. In like that, once he goes to that end, like the shore of like the Sri Lanka, going towards Sri Lanka, and he actually takes with all his troops to charge at Lanka and bring back Sita Maya, Mother Sita. And then like he gives orders, go and bring Mother Sita like that, and at the shores of that Indian Ocean. So the army, they look confused. How will we be charging into ocean? Seeing that none of the army is charging into the ocean, he is on this painting will be there of Kulasekara, like he will be riding his horse and going into the ocean. And he is going so much that the horse and all, they are going to be drowned. Then Ram and Sita actually appears there on the ocean and actually tells Kulasekara, Kulasekara, Sita is with me. The past time of Ramayana is over. She is safe with me. Now you can go back. So that devotee who is in that level of absorption is Kulasekara. Alvar they say Kulasekara. So he actually gave Mukundamala Sutram. There will be like 55 or 56 verses. Each one is actually an offering to Krishna. Very nice verses. Like Devotee Prabhu repeatedly quotes some of the verses in the classes also. Yeah, that's Chaturchedaika mantram. Like I don't remember that verse actually. Vyasana Bhujaga Sandashta Sandrana mantram. Like that he says about like the glories of Sri Krishna mantram. Jihve Sri Krishna mantram. Japa Japa Satatam Janma Safalya mantram. So repeatedly chant the names of Lord Krishna, which will perfect your life. Kulasekara verses. Yeah.
Japa Japa Satatam. You should chant always.
Chant always, yeah.
Japa Japa Satatam.
Satatam is always.
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned King Kulik Shaker and how he was so absorbed in the pastimes of Ram that he was, go get Sita, because you have a similar thing in the Chaitanya Charitamrita where Lord Chaitanya goes to take prasadam at one Brahman's home, and then he goes and it's lunchtime and the Brahmins, he didn't cook anything. And then Lord Chaitanya said, what happened? And he said, I just can't, I don't know. How is it that Ravana touched Sita? He was like absorbed. Anyways, with the whole thing.
Jai. Okay. Srila Prabhupada ki